It's obviously because IDubbbz is getting desperate. There's so many things working against IDubbbz right now. Like, IDubbbz is so screwed, and so many people dislike him and his action.
Before I get invited to that, I'm not interested. I'm good. I'd rather do a fighting event that isn't run by somebody who stabs their best friend in the back.
This is causing like an effect where all this is doing for him is causing negative PR for his event. As you all may know about IDubbbz and Creator Clash, right? IDubbbz, for those of you who are unaware, made Creator Clash 2, right? He made the Creator Clash, I want to say, intellectual property, the IP, right? If you could call it that. I think it's more fair to say that IDubbbz created Creator Clash in general. And Creator Clash 2 was actually a huge failure. He had to come out and apologize for the amount of money that he lost, which happens a net loss of like $200 and something thousand, in which he did a live stream to try to recuperate some of the costs, then donate that money to a charity, which I find incredibly commendable and respectable. But every step he has taken since then to gain good favor with his community, to gain good favor with external community, has been absolutely pointless, right? Everything he has done since then to gain any good favor has been an absolute failure, right? So because of his recent fallout with Ethan Klein, because of his recent association with some people, it has kind of soiled some of his connections, so to speak, right? Ethan Klein isn't supporting him. Hassan doesn't seem to be backing him that much. So it has led into a little bit of a ripple effect, right? And now we see YouTuber Harley Morenstein no longer fighting in Creator Clash 3. And then I believe this was posted yesterday, where Harley says, I'm not boxing. So essentially he's dropping out of the fight. And there's been a couple of people to comment on this saying, that they have been reached out to also participate in this fight in the past, only to like turn Ian and Anissa down. But take some of this with a grain of salt, of course. Take some of this with a grain of salt, of course, because we don't know how truthful some of these people are. So here we have Ice Poseidon claims he was invited to box IDubbbz for Creator Clash 3, but declined, which means that, if this is true, IDubbbz is getting desperate, or was getting desperate, because this could have happened before, Harley Morenstein. I'm pretty sure this happened before Harley Morenstein was removed. But it shows that IDubbbz is just looking for anybody who is potentially relevant or has like some sort of following to fight in his boxing event.
I got invited to box IDubbbz in his boxing event for Creator Clash, but I had to decline that because if I were to lose IDubbbz, I would be extremely embarrassed. And I'm not very good at boxing, so
Dude, everybody hates IDubbbz. Like, nobody likes this guy. If this is true, my God. Imagine declining a fight because you're too embarrassed to lose to IDubbbz, somebody that everybody dislikes, dude. Yeah, because like, imagine IDubbbz did lose because he's not an athlete, he's not a boxer. Say what you will about IDubbbz, but what you can say about IDubbbz fairly is that he does seem to be at least a little bit athletic, and he does have some boxing training. So imagine like everybody as a community, imagine everybody just like, like the culture running so far against IDubbbz that even a potential risk of losing to him is enough to deter you from accepting a contract and not fighting in a huge, or what would be a huge event.
You guys have the same stats though.
I know he has 2 losses, I have 2 losses. That's what I'm saying. If I lose to him, there's no coming back from that. Because he's like a skinny dude.
I think you'd win.
I mean...
And I think everyone would be wanting you to win, too.
Yeah, but I have no training at all. And it's very soon. So I would gas out in 5 seconds, and then I'd be fucked.
Okay, so this is for the recent... This is for the recent fight. Okay. So yeah, they're just looking... They were just looking for anybody.
And he's definitely...
If this is true. If this is true.
He said that he didn't, but I think he's lying.
Of course, yeah. He's definitely been training. And I haven't, so it's just like it's an easy win for him. So I had to say no. Although I wanted to do it because it would be really fun, but no training, it's just a waste of time. Gassed out in 10 seconds. and then lose to IDubbbz. Like, bro.
Dude.
I was just wondering why he asked me, because me and him have nothing to do with each other. Like, I've never even spoke to him. So I don't know why he asked
Again,
me
if this is true, it's obviously because IDubbbz is getting desperate. He's trying to get anybody with any, like, you know, high amount of relevancy so that people will look at his event. But like, oh, this guy is, you know, fighting. Maybe it'll be fun to see this guy get blown up. But there's like so many things. There's so many things working against IDubbbz right now. It's obvious to anybody who's looking at this that one, to be clear, let me put this out in the open, because this is the first and most important thing to mention. Creator Clash 3 was never going to succeed. It doesn't matter who drops out. It doesn't matter who's fighting. It doesn't matter who's, like, you know, who's being showcased, right? Creator Clash 3 was just never going to succeed. Nobody cares about the event. Nobody cares about the event, right? And now, the people that IDubbbz has chosen to align with will probably not promote Creator Clash 3 in any way, right? I don't think... Say what you will, again, about the association that he's been making right now with his content cop and Hassan, but I genuinely don't think that Hassan is nearly as amicable with IDubbbz as most people would like to believe, right? I just don't think that's the case. I refuse to believe that Hassan considers IDubbbz even thing close to a friend, right? I just don't think there's any amicability there. I don't think there's any friendship or any rapport there at all. So I don't think Hassan would go out of his way to support Creator Clash 3. So I just don't see this succeeding. And also, the Harley Morenstein stuff, right? What it does is that it doesn't make Creator Clash 3 seem like a failure. Creator Clash 3 was always going to be a failure. But what it does is that it sets this new sort of like stain on IDubbbz's reputation. Like, IDubbbz is so screwed, and so many people dislike him and his actions and how he aligns with other people, that nobody even like cares to continue helping him anymore. Nobody even cares to, like, you know, be there for him anymore. And Harley Morenstein, I believe, is a good example of that. So I don't think anybody would be willing to stick their neck out for IDubbbz. There's no way that IDubbbz is going to get any good PR from this point forward, right? It's just not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. Nobody's gonna want to stick out their neck for this guy. Nobody. Because of how, like, detested he is. Because of how, you know, little people actually like him. And then we have this clip here, which, again, take with a grain of salt, because I'm not entirely sure how true some of these statements are.
Do you think
But Common Cop posted this tweet saying, IDubbbz was in talks with Zero, the Smash Bros. Player guilty of grooming a 14-year-old, about joining a future boxing event. Now, for those of you who know Zero, we covered him in the channel in the past. Again, take this with a grain of salt. Not entirely sure how true these people's, you know, anecdotes or testimonies are. So,
ever get into influencer boxing? I have actually talked with IDubbbz about joining an event at some point. And I do have over a year of boxing under my belt. Do you think you'll ever get in?
Yeah, at some point. So again, if IDubbbz is really, who knows if IDubbbz reached out to Zero? Who knows if Zero reached out to IDubbbz? But if there was ever any consideration for Zero to be joining this event, that, again, if this is the case, that paints a really bad picture, right? It puts a really sour taste in anybody's mouth, because it just shows that IDubbbz is potentially getting desperate, right? If it is the case. If it is the case that IDubbbz reached out to him to promote him, or to, like, you know, contract him for this fight. But it appears that at every turn, there's no way. It appears that every turn there's just no way that that IDubbbz can, you know, come out of this unscathed. This one right here. Say what you will about Yeet. Again, at least he compiles some stuff. Now that we know that Harley Morenstein dropped out from CC3, let's do some investigating. Was Tectone slated to be Harley's replacement? Tectone revealed yesterday that IDubbbz asked him what his weight was in DMs. And then Tectone says this.
DM'd me.
Right, there's nothing here to suggest that Tectone was actually going to participate in Creator Clash 3. But again, what's important to take from this isn't the fact that there might be some invitation to the fight. What's important to take from this is that literally nobody is supporting IDubbbz. Like everybody's just like hanging him out to dry. Like, nobody is letting this guy, you know, come to their DMs. Nobody's letting this guy reach out to them and, you know, and play friends with him, because nobody wants to be associated with this guy.
And he asked,
and funnily enough, IDubbbz did this to himself.
how much do you weigh? So I think he's going to try to get me in Creator Clash, which, by the way, before that comes out and before that gets invited, before I get invited to that, I'm not interested. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'd rather do a fighting event that isn't run by somebody who stabs their best friend in the back.
Well, some people may say that the content cop was awful. What the content cop did do is that it appealed to a new audience. It appealed to a new sort of like lefty soy audience, for lack of better words, right? The content cop was successful in definitely being an appealing video to a new audience. But what it's doing is that this is the biggest example of alienating your audience and alienating people that support you, right? Because of that video, there's going to be so many public creators that don't understand, all of the optics about the situation. They don't understand all of the information behind, the content cop. And what most people are going to say is that, oh, you stabbed Ethan Klein in the back. And that's all they really need to understand. Because even though a lot of people consider Ethan Klein to be like, this guy who's going a little bit loony, he's still a respectable creator, right? So what IDubbbz did by releasing the content cop, even though he did appeal to a new audience, what he neglected to do is appeal to creators in general. He neglected to appeal to people like Tectone, to people like for example Ethan Klein, or other individuals, right, like normies. And what this is doing is this is causing like an effect where this is doing for him is causing negative PR for his event, for Creator Clash 3. Nobody wants to be associated with that. Nobody wants to give positive attention to that. Nobody wants to give him any sort of support. So Creator Clash 3 was always doomed to fail, but even more so now, because now Harley Morenstein dropped out from the fight. It is being said that now, because he dropped from the fight, there has been certain conditions met to where people can now request a refund, even though refunds were being denied or held. I just got sent this. If Anissa and Ian kicked out Harley, they could be forced to refund 100% of the tickets asked according to a Florida state statute. Does anyone know any more about this? Is this true? If so, this is going to be brutal for the Jomas. I'm not sure how true this is, but let's see. In the wake of Harley Epic Mealtime Morenstein's removal from Creator Clash 3 main event fight in Tampa, it's been discovered that Florida state statutes indicate that Anissa and her husband could be forced to relinquish 100% of the ticket sales for the event as per statute 548.006. If applicable, that means that Anissa and her husband must proactively offer ticket holders refunds and then give any unclaimed ticket revenue over to the state of Florida. Failure to do so could result in revocation of their boxing promoter's license and monetary penalties. No exemption seemed to exist for the specific circumstances. If true, this means that even if they find a replacement and sell all the remaining tickets at 100 times the base price before the event, they might keep $0 of that money. Let's see. Oh, this is the same thing that was cited. So, Regulation of Trade, Commerce, Investments, and Solicitations, Chapter 548, Pugilistic Exhibitions, 548.066. Pugilistic exhibitions meaning like, fights, right? Fights, obviously, boxing matches, karate tournaments. Upon the postponement, substitution of either participant, or cancellation of the main event or the entire program of matches, the promoter shall refund the full purchase price of a ticket to each person presenting a ticket for a refund with 30 days after the scheduled date of the event. Within 10 days after the expiration of the 30-day period, the promoter shall pay all unclaimed ticket recipients' receipts to the commission. The commission shall hold the funds for 1 year and make refunds during such time to any person presenting a ticket for a refund. Thereafter, the commission shall pay all remaining monies from the ticket sale to the chief financial officer for a deposit to the general revenue fund. Failure to comply with this section, the commission may declare a promoter's bond or other security forfeited, suspended. Interesting. So because of this substitution, I would assume it's because of something to do with I would assume that this would be something to do with like false marketing, false advertising, right? Because they're not going to an event that was like advertised the way that they expected. They have to like offer refunds. Okay, within 10 days after the expiration of the 30-day period, the promoter shall pay all unclaimed tickets to the commission. So even if they don't, right? Even if they don't, the money still has to go to a commission. and the commission will hold the funds and make refunds to people that present a ticket saying that they're entitled to a refund. So I don't know. I don't know if this actually can apply. I don't know if this is even like actually a thing that could happen to them. I mean, it's entirely possible that this could apply to IDubbbz and Anissa. It's very possible. But again, is this something that'll be enforced? Who knows? Who knows if this will be enforced? Because again, for something like this to actually go through, there need somebody would probably have to like file a complaint. Creator Clash 3, Winter Boxing. Okay, player matchups: Harley Morenstein, LA Beast, which is the main one being listed here. Tubbo and Sapnap are fighting. Huh. Okay, so Harley Morenstein dropping out is actually insignificant if we have like much larger, more relevant names. If Tubbo and Sapnap do some like heavy legwork, and if Hassan does some heavy legwork, right? Then it's entirely possible that CC3 could make like a return, right? Because I can already see how Sapnap and Tubbo they could like promote to their to their own like audiences, and they'll be like, oh my god, I want to see Tubbo fight Sapnap, blah 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 blah. I can see this potentially being turned around. This event could be saved, but I could potentially see like the negative rep that IDubbbz has accumulated so far playing a huge effect into like the success of or the limited success of Creator Clash 3, because obviously Creator Clash 3 was doomed to fail. Nobody's promoting it. June 26th is literally right around the corner, and it just so happens to also take place alongside different boxing events that are going on right now. I believe it was like Jake Paul's own boxing event, which you already know more people are going to be interested in. It's going to be around UFC, and if there's anybody who is even remotely interested in this boxing match, they're going to be watching UFC instead of this garbage, right? If they have interest in like combat sports. I definitely see a lot of this negative rep that IDubbbz is getting right now playing a huge effect into how many people actually care enough to even watch this event when there's so many more entertaining things going around at the time. And I can see a lot more people cutting ties and more people talking shit and less people trying to get involved, because I already know, given the the political discourse involving both of these people, including Ethan Klein's own stuff, I don't think Sapnap, who already has a pretty negative rep from the Dream stands, right? I don't think Sapnap is going to speak out and promote. I don't think Tubbo is going to speak out and promote. They don't want any of that association. They don't want any of that tie with IDubbbz right now, because nobody wants to come support IDubbbz right now, right? Myth, he ain't gonna say shit. Odd One's out, ain't definitely gonna say shit. I just don't see anybody here, being particularly vocal in support of this event or in support of IDubbbz, or risk getting a large amount of scrutiny, risk getting a large amount of hate, right? Like Harley Morenstein is a perfect example of this. Why would he he spoke out. Bad Empanada targeted him. Bad Empanada being obviously an insane deranged individual. I just don't see how anybody in their right mind in this lineup, I don't see how anybody in their right mind in this lineup would ever come to support IDubbbz, or vice versa, given the amount of negative energy that is tied to IDubbbz right now. I mean, it's just unfortunate, but I mean, IDubbbz did it to himself.